This is KGW News at noon.
As you're all aware, I believe we have reached a settlement in this case. And I think of most importance to the family is that the Oregon State Police formally apologized to the family for the mistakes that were made that night.
That's one of the attorneys for the family of Robert Box speaking today about the apology that Oregon State Police issued in regards to Robert's death back in 2015. Good morning. I'm Drew Carney. Thanks for joining us here, what is now the noon hour. And we are talking more about the story to lead things off. Attorneys for the Box family announced a $1.6 million settlement with Oregon State Police today. This all happened in Grants Pass. In a letter, and you see that letter right here, the Oregon State Police Superintendent says the agency recognizes their role in the tragedy and, quote, hopes the events are never repeated. It all started on the Box family property in Grants Pass in May of 2015. That night, police got a call that Robert had assaulted his adult daughter, Kelsey. According to state prosecutors, troopers eventually shot Box after he pointed a gun at them. However, lawyers for the family maintain that Box had the right to be armed on his own property. Family attorneys also accuse Oregon State Police of ambushing him because troopers had already been told by dispatch that Box's daughter had left the house and was not in danger. The court case went through a lengthy appeal process before reaching an agreement just last week. Lawyers for the family say that the top priority in all of this was getting that apology.
The primary requirement was the apology. But we can't discuss the negotiations, but let's just say that it took 4 or 5 months to get them to the point that they were prepared to issue the apology from the time we started to try and determine if the case could be settled.
Although a settlement has now been reached in this wrongful death case, the county district attorney's office found the shooting reasonable at the time. Also new this afternoon, the U.S. Postal Service is asking for help to track down a man they say robbed a Portland mail carrier at gunpoint. So this is a look at the wanted flyer. The Postal Service is offering up to $50,000 for any information that leads to an arrest. The robbery happened last Wednesday in the early afternoon on Church Street in Northeast Portland. The suspect is described as a black man in his 20s, about 6 feet tall, wearing a tan tracksuit at the time with a hood and bright white tennis shoes. If you have any information, you can call the number you see right there on the screen. You can also mention that reference number for the case. It's 398-8904. Again, 398-8904 is the reference number for this case. And that phone number to call is on the screen. All tips will be kept confidential. The Portland Bureau of Transportation, meanwhile, released its annual report on traffic deaths. It shows 63 people died on Portland streets last year, the exact same number reported from 2021, which represented the most in the city since 1990. The report says 70% of last year's crashes happened on streets that the city calls high crash corridors, which make up only about 10% of all the streets in the city. 28 of those deaths last year were pedestrians killed by vehicles. That number is up slightly from the previous year. 10 of those 28 people were experiencing homelessness. The city says most of these traffic deaths happened when it's dark out. You can read the full report right now on our website, KGW.com. All right, we're going to take a quick break from our news headlines this afternoon. Rod Hill is standing by in our weather center. Rod, what do you have for us?
Hey, good morning. Good morning. I did what you did, Drew. I said good morning. Good afternoon, everybody. We are getting cloudiness and some precipitation across southern Oregon. I'll touch more on this coming up in my complete weather, but it's another day with a big storm hitting California. And this storm is throwing clouds up into the Bend area, a little bit of light snow in southern Oregon that will be increasing, but we're just to the north of that. So it appears we will remain north of it and continue to get partly cloudy skies. Here's Lincoln City at noon, Chinook Winds Casino Resort camera, beautiful day. Temperature 48, that's not bad. Winds are light, that makes it feel really comfortable. And kind of a similar partly cloudy sky seen down through wine country. That's Stoller Family Vineyards Estate. And there's downtown Portland. We are right where we thought we'd be at noon, and that is 47 degrees. Winds are light. It's a nice afternoon. It appears we will continue to see dry weather. We'll get up to about 53. Which is another day of seeing temperatures well below normal. We'll talk about this lengthy streak of cooler than normal weather continuing as well, coming up in my regular forecast. Drew?
All right, we'll get that, Rod, in about 10 minutes. Right now, we want to get back to some local headlines this afternoon. Southeast Portland is next. That's where squatters have taken over a vacant condo. The man who lives downstairs says they've created a nightmare for him, doing everything from shooting guns out the window to flooding his unit. The condo will be up for auction later this afternoon, and the downstairs renter told KGW's Blair Best he hopes new owners will be able to get those squatters to leave.
The sound of rain is normal for Portland this time of year. But this is something different.
Slowly it just leaked until my ceiling completely just collapsed in on us. Just water everywhere.
A tarp now takes the place of Lucas Porter's kitchen ceiling in his Southeast Portland condo. Above him, a group of squatters.
As soon as that place became available, it's just been, I've seen hundreds of people come in and out of the apartment upstairs.
He says there's been everything from gun violence,
But they'd usually shoot like out their windows.
to fights, and music loud enough to knock the pictures off his wall. But it became unbearable when they started flooding the upstairs unit. Portland Fire says they've responded to Lucas's apartment 5 times.
This is the most recent one. In the corner over here in my living room, water has fallen in 3 times. My bathroom ceiling has fallen in 3 times. My bedroom's falling in 3 times.
And each time more triggering than the last.
The sound of water just brings me so much trauma.
The squatters upstairs have even offered him drugs as a compromise.
I've been losing my mind a little bit over here.
So we've decided not to approach the squatters living upstairs. We're told they're very dangerous and threaten people when someone knocks on the door. Now, just yesterday, there was a huge fight right where I'm standing now.
I feel like it's almost on a daily basis that we're calling the police on the people upstairs.
He's received little response from both police and his landlords over the 3 years this has been going on, and he doesn't have enough money to move.
Because I feel like this is happening in a high-rise in downtown Portland, that the city would be way more on top of it than somewhere over here in the Montevilla neighborhood, which is considered one of the worst neighborhoods in Portland.
Once homeless himself, Lucas finally has his own place, but lives in another kind of nightmare.
It's always on edge. Like, I feel like I'm constantly wondering what's going to happen.
The unit the squatters have taken over is now owned by the bank and scheduled to go up for auction Tuesday afternoon. In Southeast Portland, Blair Best, KGW News.
Now, our next story comes from Beaverton. That's where a 2-year-old was taken to the hospital yesterday after being poisoned by what appears to be something containing fentanyl. People living around 22nd Avenue and Highland Court in Beaverton called 911 when they heard screaming yesterday afternoon. Officers found the toddler unconscious in a car. They say she wasn't breathing, she didn't have a pulse. First responders, though, gave her CPR and several doses of Narcan. Narcan, of course, is used to reverse the effects of an opioid overdose. The toddler did regain consciousness on the way to the hospital. Police at this point aren't saying exactly how the child got a hold of the fentanyl. Here's what they did say, though.
Again, the concerning point is that fentanyl can be disguised in anything. It can be disguised in something that looks like an over-the-counter medication, something that looks like a prescription pill, or even candy. I can't get into the details about what the form was that this 2-year-old ingested, but again, it appeared edible to a toddler.
We still don't know if the toddler was with their parents at the time or what criminal charges might be filed. We also have an update this afternoon on a push from some parents in the Westland-Wilsonville School District who were trying to get several books banned from their schools. At a meeting last night, the superintendent announced that the district was going to go against the parents' wishes and keep those books in schools. But the district will restrict 2 of them to just the high school level. One of those books is titled Me, Earl, and the Dying Girl. The other is a novel called Crank. A committee made up of parents, teachers, librarians, and other community members reviewed the books. The people that wanted them banned say they have too much sexual content for kids. We heard reaction last night from people who were both for and against the idea of the book ban.
We think we're going to continue the dialogue and just continue to express our concerns with regards to the lack of policy and just with how the committee process was.
And most of these people that are in here talking against it, I guarantee you, they didn't pick up those books and read them cover to cover.
The committee's decisions on the books in question will stand for at least the next 3 years now. That's when the next review can take place. We also want to let you know the Portland Environmental Services Group is telling people to stay away from the Willamette River for the next 2 days because of bacteria in the water. Heavy rain yesterday caused Portland's big pipe system to reach 100% capacity. That meant excess stormwater and excess wastewater made its way into the river. As you can see on your screen, the pipe is now back at 3% capacity.